Well, everyone, back with another live Q&A, an Express Entry live Q&A, but there's notice. There's news, there's changes, there's updates, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why the heck is Mark so late today? Well, a couple things. One, I had a consultation with someone, which once again breaks my heart. They filed their Express Entry application on their own. They entered the information in a way that wasn't 100% a misrepresentation, but it just messed everything up. Now it's gone to a further review. And this Express Entry, this live Q&A is all about Express Entry. So I wanted you guys to understand what's happening here. So I spent a lot of time with her trying to figure out if there's a way to save this. So she entered her work history in a way that gave her more points than she should have otherwise been awarded, which caused it to be, kicked over for further review. And her work permit's going to be running out in a couple months. And it's just a mess. And so updating immigration, trying to fix it. The GCMS notes have revealed what's happened and why it's stalled out. Excuse me, but so much of it is just so preventable. It's so preventable. And I know you guys are so used to having everything for free and, getting, all these WhatsApp groups and crowdsourcing information. But my goodness, like this stuff, people just don't talk about it. Because it's never big things, you guys. It's never big things in these applications. It's things that are unique to you and your situation that you just don't understand exactly how it applies unless someone has explained the why the question is being asked in the first place, what information it's really trying to capture. And so I know that not everybody, really is desirous to hire me to help them. They want to try to do it on their own. I totally get that. This is why I created the course. This is why, I'm doing my master classes right now. And if this client, this person who's booked a couple consultations with me now, which really have amounted to more than the cost of the course, if they'd reached out to me or at least taken the course in the beginning, we could have easily sorted through their work history and even the answers that I gave to other people's questions and that I'm currently giving in the masterclass could have resolved all of this. Or if she chose to book a consult, but people contact the immigration lawyer when things go south. And sometimes I'm not able to fix it, you guys. And it just breaks my heart because, this is an amazing person and she deserves the right to be able to stay in Canada. But because of this, it's going to be touch and go. Her employer can't get another LMIA for her. And because they have their own issues, it's just not fun, I guess is the best way to describe it. Okay, let's do some shout outs here. So Rohit, yes, you are the first. Can we expect a draw today, Rohit says? Sure, I think so. I think we're overdue for a draw, but I can tell you right now, this fine fellow right here is not going to be the one issuing the draws anymore. It is going to be this fine fellow right here. So I want to welcome you guys and introduce you to our new Minister of Immigration, Mark Miller. And let's slide over here to his bio and let's get to know Mark a little bit. All right, slide. He's got a great name. I know that much. Fantastic name. Let's remove Mark for a second here and let's take a look at who he is. So Mark Miller, you bet. He's now the Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship. First elected in 2015 as a member of Parliament in Montreal. Previously served as the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations and as Minister of Indigenous Services. Before entering politics, Minister Miller was, he's one of us, one of me, a practicing lawyer, except he was an M&A lawyer with a focus on international commercial law. He worked in Montreal, Stockholm, and New York, and he previously served as an infantry soldier in the Canadian Armed Forces. So that's pretty cool. Big props to you, my friend. He made history in 2017 when he delivered a statement in the House of Commons entirely in Mohawk. Very cool. Remarking the first time the language had been spoken in either the House of Commons or Senate since Confederation. He's also been a forceful advocate for increased federal investment in affordable housing, public transit, and the Canada Child Benefit. He's been involved in several charitable and pro bono legal initiatives. He has also authored articles on constitutional and human rights law. He's a grad of the Université de Montréal, where he earned bachelor's and master's degrees in political science. He also graduated from McGill with a degree in common law and civil law. He was born and raised in Montreal. So there we go. So we've got a new minister. Welcome, Minister Miller. It's great to have you aboard, and I'm sure he will be making a lot of appearances here with us as we try to break down all the stuff that's happening in immigration. And it's not letting up. It's not. All I can say is I hope that our new Minister Miller knows what the heck he's got himself into. So, Minister, the H-1B, the Canada H-1B visa, I extended an invitation for Minister Fraser to join me to talk about it. And I know this is a whole new portfolio for you. It takes time to get, up to speed. But at any time you want to come join me and chat, absolutely, I'd be delighted for you to come join me. All right, let's see what else we have going on here. Godson from Ghana. I've got some very, very good friends that are in Accra right now, serving a mission for our church. The Whites, awesome people. Maybe you know them. Isn't that funny? People always say to me, "Oh, you're from Canada. Do you know Fred Smith?" And I go, nope, I don't think I do. Where does he live? Oh, he lives in Montreal. Oh, okay. Nope, I don't know him. Fred Smith could live in Lethbridge, Alberta, a population of about 100,000, and I might not know him. But anyway, so so Godson, maybe you know the Whites. Wonderful people. Okay, I'm doing great flying to Canada. Good to see you. Anafi, hello. We've got G2D2 back again with a greeting from Tunisia. Southwick, hello. Good to see you. All right. Shagufta says, how are you? Got my ONP 600 points yesterday, scored 1065, waiting for my name in the next draw. Hopefully soon. That is so cool. Let's lay out some applause here. Whoa, that's some loud applause. Everybody's cheering for you. Yes, fingers crossed. Shahanaz, good to see you. Tuning in on Facebook. What are the draw? I just joined yesterday. No draw yet. So let's take a look here, guys. Let's slide over and take a peek and see what we've got going. So IRCC, rounds of invitations. If we go here, click it, open it up, zip down here, you'll see the last draw that we had was July 12th, about 2 weeks ago. So we're overdue, aren't we? I think we're overdue. So we'll see how this plays out. All right. Right. What else? We've got someone who's watching on the Canadian, on the Express Entry Private Facebook group. It's great to have you connecting in. So happy about that. Say, Hasing, hello. Good to see you. Okay. Ernesto says, is there a number where I can call you, please? Email as well. Thank you so much for your time. All right. So this is a great opportunity to just describe and explain. So this stuff here is where I have the ability to share and just really help as many people all at once. So there's a real big amplification to the answers that I give to the questions because thousands of people come back and watch these videos. Ernesto, when people want to reach out directly, then there is a fee for that. And I charge a consult fee for individual advice, legal advice. And all you have to do is go over, and there's a link in the description below of the video where you're watching, and you can book a paid consultation with myself, Alicia, Igor. So we're here to provide any assistance that you need, and that's how you reach out to me. Okay. All right. Next here, Srinavis says, which province is good for a provincial nominee for 40 plus age tech guy? Well, you know what? It's not quite a simple equation. So to a large extent, employment really drives the ship. So it depends on where you can get a really good job. Because sometimes Ontario and BC, maybe you have a rock solid job where the company can get a labor market impact assessment for you, which then opens pathways to permanent residence. But when you're older, I really like the Atlantic provinces. There is tech pathways in many provinces as well. Alberta has a tech pathway where age is not a factor. So book a consult, Srinavis, and we can go through it directly. Okay, Sharon says, hey, Mark, is it possible to put up a business while you're on a postgrad? Don't do it, Sharon. Don't. You're not getting any points for that. There's nothing gained by that as far as I'm concerned. Get a job with a Canadian employer. Allow them to support you. Can you do it? Yes, you can. But do you want to do it? No, I strongly, strongly discourage you from doing that. Ayesha, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for connecting in. Ravel says, hey, Mark, does you or your team help with Quebec immigration too? If yes, how can your team support with the process? We do not do, we don't do Quebec-based immigration. I refer to my colleagues and friends in Quebec, immigration lawyers there, for any Quebec-based immigration matters. So yeah. And let's see, who do I usually I refer to Avi's firm. We'll just pull it up here and I'll show you guys. So usually I've got a lot of good friends over here at this firm right here, Gomberg Dolphin in Quebec. So I recommend that you connect with them. And yeah, really, really good, great lawyers, fantastic people. So if you're in Quebec, that's who I recommend you connect with. All right, let's see what's next here. Eng, is this engineer Nyazi? Greetings from Norway. If I was to consider myself from any country, my ancestors, it would be Norway. So Holthe is a Norwegian name. My ancestors hail from Trondheim, Trondheim. I don't know, however you want to pronounce it. But my grandfather was 100% Norwegian, and yeah, he came back. He came over. His grandfather, his father, came over when he was 15 years old from the boat through Liverpool and settled in, I think it was North Dakota, and then they ultimately emigrated here to Canada. And so, yes, fond memories. One day I'm absolutely going to go to Norway. I agree here, Rohit. Hope the government does something for workers on a closed work permit and laid off. And this is probably something to bring up here to Minister Miller. Minister Miller, you know, your compadre. Let's pull them both up here. Okay. Okay, we'll move them over here. So we've got Minister Miller and former Minister Sean Fraser here. So Minister Miller, this guy right here, Sean Fraser, opened up a 3-year open work permit for H-1B holders in the US. But we have individuals here in Canada, Minister, who are on closed work permits, who have been laid off, who can't get a job to work for another place. So Minister Miller, what is your options? Like, what do you recommend? So let's see. All right. Okay. Ishan says, I hold a Canada visitor visa, which is valid till 2029. 2 weeks back, I got spousal open work permit approval, but IRCC didn't send me PBR. Is it because I already have valid visa? Yes, it is. That is the case, Ishan. Yes. Can you make some videos on PNP? I could do that. Okay, Flying to Canada says it's disheartening in a way when Alberta has OID family ties draws and my CRS is always well within the cutoff, but they don't provide much clarity, at least on the considered knocks in a particular draws. I agree. They could be much more transparent. They could. Okay, Syed says, hope you're doing well. Syed from Toronto, can I apply for PNPs if I am on a closed work permit as an ICT? That's much better than an open work permit, Syed. So it is possible. Absolutely. Crazy Love says, hey, Mark, if you have 6 months experience in a STEM category knock, but you were acting in the position, would it qualify? I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know what that question means. What does it mean by acting in the position? Either you performed the duties or you didn't, I guess. Okay, Ernesto says, thank you and help from Costa Rica. I will get in touch pretty soon. You're very, very, very welcome. Yes, yes, correct. Engineer Niazi. All right. Sharon says, thank you, Mark. Additional question. Doing a business and also working full-time using post-grad work permit, I meant, is it doable? Well, there's no restrictions on it, but you do have to set it up. Oh, yes. 2 master's degree from NTNU in Trondheim, Norway. Woo, woo, woo. That's awesome. So cool. That is fantastic. Oh, yeah. That is so cool. Yep. Very neat. Okay, Pamela says, off-topic question. Okay, Canadian open work permit. I created application for 2 people, but only submitted my profile. Forgot to add spouse portion. I got the biometric, but how can I apply for my spouse now? So, Canadian open work permit, created an application for 2 people, but only submitted my profile. Do you know what, Pamela? This is something that you're going to need to book a consult for us to sort out. Yeah, you'll need to book a consult, Pamela. All right. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that I can add. Yeah, like for the Canadian Open Work Permit, I'm assuming, is it the H-1B one, Pamela? We don't have specific instructions on how to add family at this stage. If it's not, then there are other rules that come into play with spousal open work permits, where you actually need to show that you have a job offer in a skilled occupation from an employer in Canada. But it just depends. They're also opening up options for spouses of low wage or low skill positions, I should say, but those details haven't been fully released. Let's see what's next here. Okay, if the primary applicant moves to another country for work after AOR, leaving the spouse in home country, what happens if they get a passport request? Should they send a passport by FSS in 2 different countries? Well, passport requests can be. So there's a whole bunch of different factors here that I can't really dive into in a live stream here. But yeah, it depends on the type of PR application that you've submitted, the program that you're in. Leaving the spouse in the home country, ultimately, there's nothing preventing people from submitting passports to VFS in 2 different countries. There isn't. Okay, Susie, hello. I'm from China. My question is, may I find a job in Canada with a travel visa? I strongly discourage people from doing that. Immigration officers, when you get a job and then try to get the work permit from within Canada, do not take kindly to it. At least the border officers don't, because sometimes they'll say, well, did you misrepresent your original purpose of entry to Canada? I've seen this happen so much. So there's nothing wrong with coming to Canada and, interviewing for a job or something like that. But then when it comes time to actually applying for it, it gets messy when you do it from within Canada. That's awesome. Yes, exactly. Holthe is a big family here in Norway. Some companies by the name of Holthe here. Absolutely. In Canada, we actually, in my name, we added an H in there. So we go by Holthe. And so, yes, that connection is strong. All right, Harmeet says, hey, Mark, hope you're doing well. When will be their category draw for trades welders? That's a good question, Harmeet. They could do program specified draws even today. Okay. Shashika says, we have 5.5 months funds on the account we received as gift deed. Should we wait till it completes 6 months? Get the gift deed. If you have the gift deed, then it doesn't matter how long the funds have been sitting in your account. Okay. Kunal says, is STEM experience outside of Canada the only criteria for being considered in the STEM draws? Pretty much. To get in through that draw, 6 months of STEM experience in the previous 3 years is, continuous paid full time. That experience is the main threshold that will allow the system to pick you up and extend an ITA to you. So as long as it's listed in your work history within the previous 3 years, the system will pick it up and then send you an ITA through that program, that specific category draw. Okay, Pamela says, yes, H-1B open work permit. So immigration indicated in their previous, some of their program delivery instructions, Pamela, and let me just pull this up here. Excuse me. Okay, let's slide over here and I'll just show you here. Okay, so after I think it's how to apply. I think it's this one. If you go down to the bottom of this, you can see applying as a family member. If your family member holding the visa has already applied, you can still apply too. Wait until they've received their port of entry letter of introduction. You can then apply using their account and the same steps as above. So we'll see how this plays out, because they've closed it off. So you can't actually access it. So you can't do it through the same way. So we'll see how it's going to play out. Another Facebook user, hello, how are you doing? Okay, Hardy says, for the H-1B, once we have the stamp on the passport, how much time do we have until we show up at the border? 2 to 3 months, 6 months, a year? Look at the visa, right? The visa will have an expiry date on it. And typically they give about 6 months, but it could be different. They could, issue it for whatever expiry they want. Because usually for permanent resident visas, we know that the expiry is based on the expiry of the immigration medical that someone's has done when they're in the course of applying for permanent residence. But yeah, it could, we don't know exactly how long they're going to leave it open for. It could be longer than 6 months, but watch the visa. Okay. Thanks for your answer. And it's Outland FSW Express Entry application. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's fine. All right. Syed says, if I will get a PNP nomination while I am on a closed work permit, then what will happen to my current closed work permit and respectively for my spousal open work permit? Okay. Well, Syed, this is, once again, it's hard to figure out. Like a nomination, you have to demonstrate an intention to live in that province. Is your nomination in the province that you're working in? Ultimately, you're just going to continue. If the nomination is in the province you're in, you're just going to keep moving forward, right? Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to answer this one, because I don't know the full picture here, Syed. But yeah, you can apply for permanent residence even when you're on a work permit. You're supposed to maintain status on a work permit. But what happens to your closed work permit and respectively for my spousal open work permit? They operate independently. So you have the ability to extend where you need to. There's bridging open work permits available. I don't know if the spousal open work permit it says you're my, so you're on a closed and a spousal. Boy, it's hard for me to sort through all of this. There's so many different levels. Let's see here. Closed work. Okay, so an ICT is what you were, Syed. Yeah, like there's no restrictions. I'm assuming that your nomination came in the province in which you're living. Okay, Sarek. Hey, greetings from Vancouver. Can the seasonal full-time of tier 2 3 months be counted toward the 1 year experience for Express Entry? I heard some temporary work is not counted. The temporary work that's not counted, like ultimately when it comes to the Canadian Experience class, there are certain things that are excluded. But when it comes to it, I don't know as far as the seasonal nature of. Let's just take a look here. We'll go to the eligibility for CEC, and you guys can pull this up too yourself. But if we go here and we pull this up and we look at it, you can see you have to have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada in the last 3 years. It can be accumulated full-time, equal time, and part-time, full-time at more than one job. You have to have gained your work experience with valid temporary resident status. And then you can see here, not eligible if you're a refugee, if you're working without authorization, if your work experience was gained without temporary status. And then you can see down here, the things that are excluded are self-employment and work experience gained while you were a full-time student. Okay. There's an exemption for physicians because they don't consider them to be self-employed. Yeah. So you can see that's really the limitation as far as claiming work experience. Okay. That's it. There you go. Now you know, Sarek. Okay. Shashika says, do we need to provide the 6 months bank statements as fund proof, or should we only put the average funds in the account for 6 months in a single letter? You don't need bank statements if you have a complete letter. Express entry, and this is something that I teach in my course. There's a website that is my favorite site to go to. It's called the Completeness Check website right here. And when I click on here and scroll down, and we'll go down to funds, you can see here if you can provide this. So you're going to provide an official letter from one or more financial institutions that list all of your accounts, including debts, credit, etc. Must be printed on letterhead, must include your name, contact information, financial institution, the account numbers, the date each account was opened, and the current balance of each account, as well as the average balance for the last 6 months. If you can actually get this, then you do not need to provide 6 months of bank statements. The only time people do that is when they can't provide a good letter, which many banks don't. Okay. All right. Flying says, even the PNP draws in SIMP, Atlantic, Alberta Advantage, ONP have been tricky in recent times. Yes, with lower cutoffs than my CRS. Yeah, my knock was missing, and my knock was considered in a draw. The cutoff was a little higher. I know it's all over the place. It is all over the map. Okay, Raja says, hey, I couldn't comprehend why we haven't got an ITA with CRS 468, knock code 31200, psychologist in last category based draw of number 258 of express entry, in which lowest cutoff score was 463. So in this situation, what I do, Raja, I reach out to IRCC and I say, hey, I never received an ITA. This is the situation. I show my profile. Sometimes there are glitches. And so I reach out and I push it. I do. Okay, Mosin says, working remotely from Canada for a foreign employer while being an international student in Canada counts towards federal skilled work experience. Mosin, I've never seen anything conclusive from IRCC on that. Working remotely from Canada for a foreign company, when you've got pay stubs, like if it's in the US, W-2s, things like that, I would personally take a run at it. So I would make an attempt to claim that work experience as foreign work experience, not Canadian. That's what I would take a run at. I would try to file. And obviously, if it comes back and an officer says, no, I don't think because you were on full-time studies, then I would politely say, this is foreign work experience, not Canadian work experience. So it should not be excluded from the federal skilled worker program. That's how I do it, Mosin. Okay. Grav says, I've heard IRCC rejecting PR applications if submitting with expired medicals within 5 years. So should we still submit with new medicals even if there is a policy? They should not be refusing. And Grav, this is another reason why hiring an immigration lawyer to help you can protect you. Because if there was a rejection of an application because the medical was too old, remember the medical had to have already passed, like it had to have been a past medical. That policy with my students, I advise them in the course, and with our clients, I always include a copy of the policy when I upload the expired immigration medical into the portal. So that's how I deal with that. I don't leave any chances. And then if they refuse on that basis, then guess what we do? We file a leave application for judicial review. Okay, 468 in the STEM category. Well, if they do another round of invitations, I think there's a good chance. Let's see if we've got any updates, guys. Let's see if we do. I'm going to pull open here the rounds of invitations. Doesn't look like it, but sometimes my cache needs to be refreshed. But I don't see any round yet. Let's just keep zipping. Note, still July 12th. So we'll keep monitoring that situation. All right. Okay, Hardy says, for the H-1B open work permit, if we want to get points for CEC, do we need to work for a Canadian company offering services in Canada? My company is US, offered me to work remotely. You must work for a Canadian company. Yeah. Okay, Pooja says, if someone has a 1.5 year experience in category-based healthcare streams, but CRS score is low, should apply for LMIA to boost up score. LMIA is always something I would advise people to do, Pooja. If you can do it, do it. Okay, off topic a bit. Trying to find an affordable person lawyer to help with the PR process. Why is the cost so high, such as $9,000 up? Well, we charge in our firm $5,000. So I don't know. People can charge whatever they want. People could charge you $20,000 if people are willing to pay it. In our firm, we charge $5,000. But understand, mine, the reality that I created this course right here with the master classes and over 10 hours of DIY content is so that people can not have to pay the same amount of money. Well, and understand there's a reason people pay, right? There's a reason they do. The first reason is in our firm, Alicia and I both have been doing this for 20 years. I've been involved with Express Entry since the beginning of time. And the reality is with the process, how it works, the ins and outs. I've been intricately involved in this like since 2015 when it launched, even 2014 before. So when it comes to permanent residence, we know our stuff, right? Advising clients and helping them to avoid the pitfalls, what I sell is not filling out a form. What I sell is peace of mind. And so why are people so expensive? Ultimately people can charge whatever they want. And I can guarantee mine that you can probably find, an immigration consultant that'll do it for $500 or $1,000. But at the end of the day, prices vary and the level of expertise of people vary. And so you just have to try to ask around, get as much advice as you can. You guys know, like we do this. This is what we do. You've been here, you've watched me answer questions. So I'm always curious why people ultimately choose not to retain us. You can hire someone that charges you $3,000 and have your application destroyed. You can hire someone that charges you $9,000 and their paralegal, whoever you're working with, does a crappy job. right? So there's the fees are all over. You can have someone charge $1,000 and they manage to secure a permanent residence for you. But at the end of the day, I like to work with people who care about their own applications, who value the help of an immigration lawyer, but they're willing to do their part. And then I teach them everything that I know, mine. So that's how it works. So I highly recommend for you that you consider subscribing to the course. And remember, guys, when you subscribe to this, you not only get access to this masterclass that I'm doing right now, all the recordings, everything, but you also have the ability to join me on any future masterclass as well if you want. So if we go back here, I'm just gonna go into the Canadian Immigration Institute again, and you can actually watch the previous video that I did, but I've got tons of courses that walk people through all aspects of it. But the Express Entry course, you can see here, has over 57 lessons that cover every aspect of the Express Entry process, all of them. So definitely go and check that out and subscribe. Okay. And it's all on demand. You can go at your own pace for the course material, and then join me with the lives and get all the questions answered. Okay. If anyone has been scammed by immigrations person claiming to get you to Canada from Philippines or Hong Kong, please report to the police. Yes, that's very good advice, Ricky. Okay, are there any PNP programs for STEM applicants where a job offer LMI is not required? Well, I'm trying to think. There are in-demand occupations like Saskatchewan, for instance. So yes, there are. Shashika, you're very welcome. Bright says, hey, Mark, can I apply for a study permit inside Canada on a visitor status? The application still needs to be processed outside of Canada. The only people who can apply on entry are U.S. citizens. Everybody else needs to submit their application. Essentially, it's an outside of Canada application process. So I would never encourage anyone to, apply for a study permit inside Canada. If you try to go through the inside Canada as a visitor, it won't work. Now, some people apply outside, even though they're physically present in Canada, and immigration, there's ways of working around that process, right? But I'll be honest, immigration doesn't really like it. Okay. And remember, you guys, that I'll be back with Alicia tomorrow doing more of our Canada immigration, even though I'm answering questions about everything. Tomorrow at noon, Alicia and I will be doing our Canada immigration live Q&A. Okay, if I have a Bridge and Open Work Permit application, can I submit a second one for a spousal with my partner's postgrad? My company writes my contract only based on an official date, not maintained status. I need a new letter. Natalie, book a consult. This is really messy when you've got one in the queue and then you file another one. I've seen lots of conflict. I've seen people getting their work permit applications rejected. I've seen people seek to withdraw, and then others who ultimately got both applications returned by IRCC. So it's a mess, Natalia, sorry. And I recommend you book a consult and we can look at it in more detail. Okay, how can we reach out to Alberta PNP authorities for an inquiry about the situation with CRS falling within the cutoff so many times but not invited yet? Good luck. I don't have a number for you, my friend. They do whatever they want and they have no one to answer to. Okay, acting, meaning temporarily assume the responsibility of the post full-time and paid but not appointed. It all comes down to your duties. So if you're performing those duties and they show that you've done that job during that period of time and will provide a reference letter, then it's no different. I don't care whether they call it acting or being fully, hired for the job. If you're doing those duties and your reference letter that you get from the company explains you've done those duties, then you can include it. Okay. Syed continues for my last comment. Currently working in Ontario, and if I get a PNP from any other province like SIMP, in that scenario, what should happen to my closed work permit and my wife's spousal open work permit? If you get a nomination from another province, you have to demonstrate that you have an ability to economically establish yourself in those provinces. And so if you actually get the PNP nomination, well, you submit the application and be prepared to move to that province. It's always more complicated when you have a closed work permit because you can't work for that employer in the other province. So you're still working there, but you have to be able to prove. It's going to be really hard for you to get a PNP nomination when you're on a closed work permit from another province. I have to assume that in many cases, the provinces are not going to really be interested in supporting that because they don't believe that you'll actually move from the place that you're currently working. but anything's possible. So anything is possible. Okay, I'm going to try to focus on express entry here, guys, as we wrap this up. Okay, this is a huge issue, Galdo. I forgot to update the background declaration form that I've uploaded in the portal. I got refused a visa twice due to lack of study plan for my student visa application. You need to submit an IRCC web form as soon as possible to notify them of that mistake, but that could be seen as misrep. Okay, Raja, I don't have any other solutions. Yeah, this on occasion this happens. IRCC has told us to reach out and contact them. I do have, if you want to book a consult, Raja, we can talk about it. The Canadian Bar Association, I know I have some members that liaise with immigration, and I'd be willing to try to sort that out and see if we can get your situation before IRCC. but yeah, book a consult and we can reach out and see if there's some other avenues that maybe you haven't pursued that are more direct. All right, Syed, last question for Syed. Am I legally eligible to apply for PNPs being on close work permit where I'm not working currently? Yeah, there's no restrictions on that at all. Galdo says, in my third application, I was told to do a medical exam and passed it, but I was told that I misrepresented myself and banned for 5 years. What can I do with this? Book a consult. That's a consult. Okay. Yes, Mark Miller just took the oath as the new Minister of Immigration. Do you foresee any changes in effect due to the change in leadership? Well, where was Minister Fraser's emphasis? It was on making, one, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program a permanent program. So I have to assume that Mark is well positioned, Minister Miller, to advance the cause of Francophone speakers across the country and to carry forward with the government's initiative of really promoting French speaking in provinces outside of Quebec. I'm sure that he's going to probably try to work more with Quebec folks, the Quebec Immigration Department, to make things a little bit better, given the fact he's in Montreal. Yeah, all of those things I would expect are things that would be, some of the priorities. But he's got a lot that he's got on his plate now, and it's going to take time for our new minister here. If you're tuning in late, this is our new minister here, Mark Miller. It's going to take him time to get up to speed with his portfolio. It's a big one. There's a ton of things going on. So yes, so we'll see how Minister Miller fares. Okay, let's see next. Okay, Kafka says, I got an NOI from Ontario, but I had applied for the H-1B open work permit. Should I continue the H-1B application or request withdrawal? Continue it. There's no reason to withdraw it. Zero. Grav says, hey, how can we apply family, wife plus small kids visa if someone forgot to add them in H-1BA? Is the process simple once principal gets work permit? We don't know. So like I indicated in the previous response, the direction that IRCC has given is somewhat uncertain. So I'll slide back here. You can see they say that you need to wait until the principal applicant receives their letter of introduction, which is basically the approval letter. Then you can apply using their account and the same steps as above. Well, we'll see. In there might be a mechanism in place to apply for family once a person has, approval on the first application, the principal applicant's application. So we'll see. Okay. All right. Let's see what's next. Imagine, you're very welcome. Have a good day. Yep. Flying to Canada. Good luck contacting the provinces. Thank you, Southwick. Thank you for all your helping. You're a rock star. Appreciate that. Okay, we talked about this as well, OC, about just talking. We'll see what Minister Miller has to say. We're not sure. He'll probably have somewhat of a mandate from the minister or he'll carry on the mandate of the previous minister. We'll see what comes out. At this stage, Jawad, they didn't ask for police clearance certificates at this stage. Prashant says, do you have to update IRCC if I leave my job post AOR? Yes. If you've indicated in your application that you're currently working and you've submitted it, there's a number of, situations that can arise. Does the loss of your job affect, say, a job offer or any, arranged offer of arranged employment points? There's a number of factors at play. But in all cases, if a person leaves the job and changes, then I always update them. I always let them know, Prashant. Okay, I'm going to skip through this one here about employment insurance benefits, because these being eligible for it, there are specific rules for that, and that's outside of the scope of really what we're talking about here. So as far as being eligible to apply for employment insurance when you're on an open work permit, generally speaking, the answer is yes. You've paid into it and you should be entitled to. But I'd encourage you to actually go to the IRCC, go to the Canada Employment Insurance website and look at the rules. They should have some explanations there. Okay, Haiti says, hey, Mark, just saying hi, listen to you while on my way to work. Thanks for all your help. You're very welcome. And that's a good indication, Haiti. I know you're listening here on the live, but I strongly encourage you guys to also slide over and subscribe to the podcast. So we're gonna release another podcast episode, but these are really good. So if you go to Blog and Resources, our Canadian Immigration podcast is here. It's also accessible on the Canadian Immigration Institute website. So check that out. But 117 is awesome. Why no justice for self-employed applicants? We've got the tech strategy one, 116. 115 is rural and northern immigration pilot. This is really good because I had the actual, the director for the Claresholm pilot talking about how it works, and then a whole series on business immigration as well. So, all right, let's see what is next. And we've got just about 5 minutes left. Then I got a firm staff meeting that I'll be joining in on. Okay, let's see what's next. Kafka, you're very welcome. Any chance, Harsh says, for 480 with knock code included in STEM? Yes, I think there is, Harsh. Yeah, Rajesh, after getting AWAR, if company lays off, can they apply for EI? You should be able to, Rajesh, but I'm not an employment lawyer, so I recommend that you go to the government website and they should have specific instructions for you. Okay, Rafiq says application is reaching 7 months since AOR and is not processed yet. UCI not changed, no bio, no meds passed. Is it be possible to get PR within the average processing time of 7 months for FSW? Well, understand, everybody's at a different stage, and processing times go up and down. There's a number of different factors, source countries, all kinds of different things that factor into the processing. So 7 months is still really, really early on. Okay. I heard a rumor about one of the H-1B. Someone had an approval, but hey, I'm open. Okay, Harsh. Yeah, I think we got that. 480 for STEM. Sure. Yep. There's a new immigration minister, Jason Woods, and the immigration minister is Mark Miller right here. And he was just sworn in this morning. Hot off the press, you guys. Hot off the press. Yeah, Harsh, keep your fingers crossed. Okay. Yeah, Monina says, I mistakenly put my home country as my country of residence, but I'm currently residing in Canada. Will this pose any issue? Or can I just submit a web form to correct it? Submit a web form ASAP, because yeah, it's an inconsistency. And the last question of the day, Nami, my husband is on a closed work permit when creating express entry or PNP profiles. Can we use his present LMIA as arranged employment offer points? Maybe. It just depends on the nature of that LMIA, if it's for a skilled position, tier 3 or higher. So tier 1, ultimately could potentially be it. But when you're on that, you need an employer who's willing to issue the letter that extends an offer to you for at least 1 year after you become a permanent resident. Okay. Does the UCI number change on the visit visa from the one which was given 10 years back? You are the one that should make sure everything is all under the same UCI. Okay, Prashant says, got ITA and FSW, did not get any points for job offer. Do I still have to update IRC? Yeah, Prashant, it doesn't make a difference. You're going to, because otherwise you're leaving in your application something that's not true. If you put your current position as being like current, then your profile will continue to read that as you being currently employed. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We are going to wrap it up for today. Remember, I'll be back tomorrow at noon. And as always, remember, there's a ton of resources available in addition to this. If you go to our firm website here, you'll see that we have a wealth of information in our blog posts. I just did a blog post right here, the last one, which was a message now, I guess it should be to Minister Miller. My top 10 problems with the Canada H-1B work permit. And special thanks to Alicia, who helped to refine this while I was away. And yeah, and then, you know, with that whole issue, I was quoted in the CBC article offering my own thoughts on the problems with it. So you can go check that out. So thank you, CBC, for letting me have a little bit of a voice. So there you go. So those are all my challenges, but there's a ton of content. And one of my favorite ones as well right now for a lot of you is Alicia's what you need to know about the category-based selection draws. So definitely go check that one out. Updates to the Alberta PNP. Citizens of 13 more countries can now travel with an ETA. So we've got all kinds of blog posts and you can search those. And yeah, they're all on there as well, of course, as if you do need help, don't hesitate to click on speak to a lawyer and book a consult with us. This is what we do. And then after you book the consult, many of our clients then choose to retain us to actually help them file their applications. And that's where, yep, you can subscribe to the newsletter, but it's a direct lawyer to client collaboration. We don't use middle people. We don't use assistants or paralegals. You know, when we're working with our clients, we work with you directly. And that's why us as lawyers, that's why our fees, as you can go to our site and look at our fees, are priced the way they are. Someone said that someone was charging for PR $9,000. Well, I guess that's possible, but those are our fees with respect to the various programs. But the difference is between us and the vast majority of others is you work directly with us. There's no middle person. All right. Okay, guys, thanks so much for connecting in. I really, really appreciate everybody being here and all the support. We'll be right back at it tomorrow. And, you know, I want to thank, as always, I'm just going to pull this up. People probably, you know, they're so used to the Canadian Immigration Institute and are wondering, well, what is this and how does it compare to Holthe Immigration Law? Well, remember, Holthe Immigration Law is my law firm. That's where we practice immigration law as lawyers. And, you know, you can get all the information here on our firm website. The Canadian Immigration Institute right here is where I have all of my DIY courses and where we really do all of this promotional, all the free, you know, live Q&As where I go live to answer questions about immigration. All of this is here. We have courses on express entry. Highly encourage you to check this one out. We still have the postgrad extension, study permit course, spousal sponsorship courses. So there's lots that you can access and get help for basically your, you know, if you're looking to be a person who wants to try to file your own application, well, you've got the support from our firm and through the Canadian Immigration Institute in whatever fashion you feel is best. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We will see you tomorrow.